Hello Com 100 students, welcome to the week 2 video. I want to first thank everyone who was able to get their background information up online. Thank you for doing that. Those of you who have not, please make sure that you do have yours in there by the weekend so I can take a look and learn about each of you a little bit. You do not need to share the Google Docs with me. I've shared them with you. So anything that you write in those documents, I'm able to see. So you don't need to go ahead and share them with me. I can see exactly what you've written. So please don't create a new Google Doc and write in there. Some students do that. Just write in the one that I've given you. If you want to start something in another document, then paste it in. That's perfectly fine. This week is going to get us into the main content of the semester, which is communications, and we're going to be starting with a historical approach, beginning with selections from this wonderful book called The Story of Writing. We know that what we consider to be written communication began about 25,000 years ago. Oral traditions, oral communication, archaeologists and linguists believe started about 300,000 years ago, and those traditions continue until today. But we're going to be starting with thinking about written communication. What could be considered some form of writing. And we're going to have a few selections from this Robinson book, which is a really wonderful book. And it has great narrative, but also wonderful visuals and pictures and photographs of artifacts that show the history of written communication. All of this work is going to be posted to the course website under this heading here, and each week I'll be adding the new assignment, and then the assignment will find its place down below as well. And you can find the reading for Robinson and any of the other readings that we're going to have on the readings page, and you can just go down here and here's Robinson, and you'll click on this and it will bring it up. We are also going to be watching a documentary called Language Matters with Bob Holman. And this documentary is really quite wonderful. It takes you from Australia, looking at indigenous languages in Australia, through Wales, which is next to England in Europe, and to Hawaii. And it asks the question, what do we lose when language dies? There are hundreds of languages in the world, and many of them are unfortunately dying off. And this asks that question, is like, what are the social, cultural, and ethical implications of when a language dies? The Robinson text is great because it basically gives you a step-by-step evolution of writing, but it does not engage in that sort of cultural implications of what happens when a language no longer exists and how that takes place. Why is it that a language that was thriving for thousands of years perhaps is no longer around? And this documentary investigates that question. I'm going to suggest you watch selections of this documentary, but if you're interested in the subject matter, watching the whole thing is certainly worthwhile. This whole discussion reminds me of a book that I was reading over the summer, a selection of it called Sand Talk, How Indigenous Thinking Can Save the World by Tyson Yunkaporta, who is an indigenous scholar in Australia. And he opens his text with a couple of statements about writing itself. He says, a collection of pages filled with marks representing speech sounds is a complicated way of communicating. And then later he says, for an indigenous Australian coming from an intensely interdependent and interpersonal oral culture, writing speech sound symbols for strangers to read makes things even more complicated. This is exacerbated, and then it goes on. The ability to write fluently in the language of the occupying power seems to contradict an indigenous author's membership in a community that is not supposed to be able to write about itself at all. So what I'd like you to think about when you're reading the selections from Robinson for this week and watching the documentary for this week is really the implication of the fact that we are using the language that we're using at all. And really just to think about the social, political implications of language. It is not as neutral as we might think it might be. The reading response for this week is going to ask you to think about that a little bit and think about the implications of language and that. I haven't come up with the exact prompt yet, but it will be posted to the website. So you'll see on the assignment page here, once I post everything, there will be the video and then there will be an assignment with a little prompt. And the prompt is going to ask you to write in your weekly discussion and design journal. So what I'd like you to do is once you've completed it, just add in the date. So if you complete it like 9/2, that's perfectly fine. And then you would scroll down to the weekly entries, and I'd like you to have a heading that says discussion, where you will pop in your discussion, whatever you're going to be writing in there. And then there's also going to be a heading where there's the reflection. And then you'll type in the reflection portion of those. And if you could bold print those, that would be great too. Please make sure you are using those headings so that I'm able to distinguish what you are considering to be your discussion and what are you considering to be the reflection, because as you know, that both of those sections are required. And if you don't remember what is supposed to be in each of those things, in each of those headings, please, you can just go take a look at the assignment page, and it describes what the discussion should be. This is based on the prompt that I've created, and then what the reflection should be, which is like any sort of clarifying or exploratory or additional questions that you might have based on what we've read and what you might have discussed in your prompt. So please take your time and do this work. It is all going to be due like this week on Thursday at 11 p.m. If you have any questions for me as you're working on it, please let me know. It is Labor Day weekend, so I might not get back right away, but I will get back as soon as possible. So enjoy the work. I'm looking forward to seeing what you have got to write about it, and have a great weekend. Take care.